Alright, it is time to make some snack sticks. I got everything here. I think I've got everything here. A lot of people have been asking me for a video on how to make snack sticks, so I'm just going to cover everything here real quick. I've been using this kit, so I found this on Amazon, and I'll have a link in the description below if you want to order this on Amazon. They've got different flavors too. I haven't tried them yet, but I'll put links to their different flavors that they've got online. Before I get into what all you need, you notice I've got some jalapenos and some cheddar cheese. I probably won't be using these in this batch here because I've heard that it's good to dehydrate your jalapenos so there's not too much moisture. Okay, so what you're going to need for this is a meat grinder with sausage stuffing attachments. The bigger the better. I've got an LEM number 8 big bite grinder. It's a little bit higher end, but it's worth it to me because I use it a lot. You don't have to go that big. That was about a $300 grinder. There's cheaper grinders out there that'll still get the job done. You're going to need your kit. This is a high mountain. Now the kit says you can use lean meat, but if you'd like to, I like to add a little bit of fat. So for my deer meat, I got this lean hindquarters. I will add per pound of deer meat about 1 thick slice of bacon or 1 thick slice of pork jowl bacon. Notice the pork jowl is real fatty. That's what I want. Now you're going to need a few containers to hold your meat, obviously, while you're doing this. You're going to need a smoker, so I've got a big propane master built smoker. It's got racks and I can hang it. It's got more space than I need to do a big batch of snack sticks. You're going to need some kind of a scale. I just use a fishing scale because that's usually what I'm weighing if I'm weighing anything. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut these big chunks of hindquarters up into smaller chunks that'll fit in the grinder. So number 8, you want chunks about like that. And I'm going to put them in this little Walmart bag over here and use that fish scale to weigh out how much I've got, so I can do a little bit of number crunching and figure out how much seasoning and how much cure to add. If you're trimming up your own meat, obviously you want to try to get most of that silver skin and fat off of it. Try to keep it as clean as possible. If you get your meat ground at the processor, then just let them do it and have them add whatever fat they want to add to it. One big benefit of having a better grinder, a bigger, more powerful grinder, is that you can leave a little silver skin in your meat and it'll just tear it right up and grind it in. It'll be perfectly fine, so you don't have to trim it too tediously. That is 5 3/4. Okay, I've got this to right at 5 pounds. Now I'll be using this hog jowl bacon for this batch just because I used it in the last one and it turned out great. One thing about using cured meat like bacon, it's already got seasonings and cure in it, so when you measure your seasonings and cure from this kit, don't add the bacon to your total weight. This is 5 pounds of deer meat. We're going to measure this for 5 pounds of meat, even though it's going to weigh a little bit more with the bacon in it. If you're adding pure pork fat or beef fat, then you just measure out the total weight. I'm going to go with 6 slices, just to give you a little bit extra. And I just cut this up into chunks, same if you're doing strips of regular bacon. Cut it up into little chunks and mix it in with your chunks of deer meat, and they're all going to go through the grinder together. Be using the fine grind plate. And for me, the fine grind plate, one run through the fine grind has been plenty enough for me with this grinder. Since you're going to have a little bit of meat stuck inside of the grinder when you're done, I'll just throw a couple extra chunks in there to make sure we still got 5 pounds of deer meat coming out the end of it. Alright, now we just got to run it through real quick. Okay, our meat is ground. We're going to go and crack into this kit and see what we got and see what we got to do to mix her up and get her ready. Alright, so let's crack into this snack and stick kit. Comes with these instructions. You're going to need these. You're going to want to save these because you're not going to make this whole kit at once. If you do, that's pretty impressive because it'll make up to 20 pounds of meat for one kit. They've got jerky instructions and everything else, so don't get those confused when you do snack sticks. Instructions are down here at the bottom. The cure and seasoning ratios are right here. With the seasoning that comes in this, it tends to be a little on the salty side, so I'm going to measure a little light on the seasoning. That's fine, you do that however you want, just make sure you get the cure measurements correct. So it's got on the chart here from 1 pound up to 4 pounds, so I'll just have to do the math and make it for 5 pounds. This is the seasoning, everything's labeled, and the cure looks like that, and it comes with casings. Okay, so I've crunched some numbers. You can take the measurement for 1 pound and multiply it by 5 or however many pounds you have. So for the seasoning, that gets you at 4 tablespoons plus a half a teaspoon. I'm actually going to put in a little bit less than 4 tablespoons. Like I said, it's a little bit on the salty side. So there's 1. So on the 4th tablespoon here, I'm just going to go a little light. Keep reading the instructions before you put your cure in. The cure acts as a binder. Do not wait to stuff the casings after you put the cure in. It also says to add a 1/4 cup of ice water per pound of meat. Go ahead and clean out your grinder and get it prepared with your sausage stuffing tube. You're going to remove those little scraps. Remove the blade. Take this sausage stuffing piece here. All that does is just holds the corkscrew deal, whatever that's called, holds it in place. That's all it does. Take your smallest sausage stuffing tube. This is the one made for snack sticks. We're going to go ahead and take this casing here, take one of the casings out of the pack, and it should slide. So carefully work it right onto the tube. If it doesn't slide on like that, you got the wrong size stuffing tube. We're going to go out as far as we can go here, pull out a tag end, and we'll save this for the next round once this runs out. Just tie a knot in the end of it. Alright, so I got a 1 1/4 of ice water. Pour that in the meat. I'm going to measure out 3 tablespoons and 1 teaspoon of cure. Make sure they're nice level measurements. Okay, now you just got to mix it by hand for a few minutes. You can wear gloves if you want. I don't really care. Just make sure your hands are washed and clean. I'll use my hands and get in there and get everything blended up as well as possible. And as soon as we're done with this, it's going straight to the grinder and we're going to start stuffing. Alright, so when I'm stuffing it into the grinder here, I like to have a couple things to help me out. A little spatula to work it in there. Of course, use this tool that comes with the grinder. And I like to have a scoop with me because remember I said the cure acts as a binder. So the meat starts to actually thicken up as it sits. So I'll just use this scoop to scoop a chunk of it up into the tray. And then we use a spatula. And then this here, just to work it down into the casings. Alright, it's going to start feeding through here. You'll see it coming through the casing. We actually got a little bit of air in here, which is not ideal, but you do have a little air in the end of your casing. A pin or just the tip of your knife, just enough to let the air out. I'm just going to start working the meat in through the top and just try to keep it rolling. You want to hold on to the end of it so it doesn't just unravel the whole thing while you're stuffing it. You want it to have some tension in there so it gets stuffed all the way. Now don't stuff it too tight. We'll get to that in a little bit. Remember, we're going to twist this into lengths later, so leave a little bit of slack. Don't stuff it super tight, but try to keep it most of the way full all the time. Try to keep air bubbles out. If an air bubble does show up, you can prick the casing with a pin or a needle or a knife like I just showed you to get the air bubble out. And so just keep your fingers here, keep just enough tension on it so that it stays fairly tight, but not too tight. And then use your other hand just to work the ground meat down into the grinder. And as the length starts to come out and get too long, you just kind of, like I said, you don't want it to be too tight, so you should be able to bend it a little bit and just kind of coil it up. Okay, we're running out of casing here. It's important to stop the grinder before you run completely out of casing. You need to have enough of tag end to tie a knot. Now when you tie a knot in the end, you can leave a little bit of empty space, a little bit of slack in the sausage, because that slack will be taken up when we twist it all into links, then it'll all fill back in. So it's okay if it's a little bit slack right there. Same thing as before, tie a knot, and then we'll finish up this little bit of meat. Alright, so I've got all 5 pounds stuffed. Be sure to save the rest of your casing for the next batch. Even if it's a little bit, you're going to want to use it for your next batch. So save that. I'll start off with the bigger link here. Probably going to go for links about that long. It really doesn't matter, it's just preference. And fold it over and try to start the next link about the same. I already can tell I stuffed these a little bit on the tight side, so I'm going to have to work with them carefully so I don't break the casings. One back down to here, same thing. And I'm going to go finish doing that. I'm just going to keep doing the same thing until I get them all linked up. Okay, I've got everything all linked up. I'm going to try to keep them together so they don't unravel. And I'm going to put these in the fridge. The instructions say to let it cure overnight, so that's what we're going to do. I will go get the smoker fired up tomorrow. Hopefully have enough gas. I think this one's got enough. So I'll be using this master built smoker. It doesn't have to be this big, especially for a smaller batch like I'm doing. This is just what I have. Just bigger is better, right? Alright, so with this rack, it's a little bit narrow. These almost don't fit. So if your rack is too narrow for your links, you can use a piece of string or twist tie and just kind of hang them up. Just kind of pull it through. Be careful not to pop the casings. And here's where you kind of got to work with it a little bit. On this particular rack, it doesn't want to fit. Once you get it started, it's a lot better to just grab the bottom and kind of pull it through carefully. Alright, so now we've got them all hung up. I'm just going to try to space them out as evenly as possible so that all the heat can get up in between them and cook them properly. Okay, now for the good stuff. I'll be smoking with hickory. You can use whatever smoke you like. This little device I found at the store one day and I just had to buy it, and I'm glad I did. This is a Outdoor Gourmet 2-probe digital thermometer with Bluetooth. So what I do with this, it comes on a magnetic base. One of these probes is for the air temperature inside. It's more accurate than this. The other one is for the meat temperature. So I'm going to go and snake these through the vent in the back of the smoker. This is probe number 2. It's going to go straight down the middle inside one of these links. Probe number 1 is just going to hang out here on the shelf and give me the air temperature. And this is the coolest part. You download this app when you buy it, and it will connect. And here I've got live temperatures, same thing that shows on the screen. I can go inside and keep an eye on my temperatures. Now let's get the smoker fired up. Alright, now while we're back inside, let's look at what the instructions say. It says to smoke it at 200 for 2 hours or until the internal temperature reaches 165. So the last 2 times I did this, it took a lot longer than 2 hours. I tried to keep it around 200, actually a little bit hotter because I want it to get done quicker. Honestly, I don't think 250 would hurt. So between 2 and 250 is what I would suggest for the smoker temperature. You can test it manually if you don't have that fancy little gadget. It was only $30, but if you don't have that on hand, you can just use a regular meat thermometer and stick it in and check on it after a couple hours. Also note here, it says do not over smoke. This will cause a bitter flavor. That's correct. I actually tried to cook a little bit of extra meat off my first batch as sausage patties, and I cooked them in a skillet. So of course they got all brown around the edges and they were real bitter. Something to do with the cure, so follow the instructions and pull them off as soon as they're done. Alright, it's been at least 2 hours Meat's getting up there, 141. I just turned on both burners just to crank it up to 250 so we can hurry up and get it done real quick here. They're getting close. Once it gets into the 160s, we're cutting the heat off. I'm gonna go ahead and let them air out. Should have a little bit of wrinkle to them. No, these are not like Slim Jims. You can't let them sit out on the counter. They're not dried. This is actually cured sausage, so you do have to keep them in the fridge, but they won't last very long anyways. They'll all be gone pretty quick. So now you're just going to want to trim the ends off of it. That's what I like to do. I like to cut these into smaller chunks. Especially helps with sharing them, so you can share smaller portions. Make it last a little bit longer, but a batch like this, if people find out about it, usually won't last very long. So here's what you get out of 5 pounds of venison and a few strips of bacon, and a little bit of elbow grease, and you got these. So hopefully that helps y'all. It helps explain how to do it, and if you got any more questions, just let me know. Drop me a comment. Like I said before, some of the materials and tools I've used for this, I've got links to them in the description if you want to buy them online. So check that out, and thanks for watching.